Silver Bullet is an inverted coaster at Knott's Berry Farm. The ride originally opened in 2004 with a cost of $16 million. This is one of Knott's Berry Farm's biggest roller coasters. But is it one of their best? Let's dive into the review. This coaster gave a very different experience than all of the other rides at Knott's Berry Farm. At the time, the park's other thrill coasters consisted of Ghost Rider, a wooden coaster that didn't have any inversions, Accelerator, a launch coaster that also didn't have any inversions, a Vekoma Boomerang, which was removed for hang time by the way, and they had Montezuma's Revenge, a classic launch coaster with a launch in one loop. So as you can see, Silver Bullet was very different than anything else Knott's had at the time. Silver Bullet still has the most inversions out of any coaster at Knott's. You'll be flipped upside down on 6 different occasions throughout this B&M invert experience. Silver Bullet is technically located in the Ghost Town section, but it has little to no theming. You can see this ride from pretty much anywhere on that side of the park. Silver Bullet has 32 passenger trains. Silver Bullet has 2 trains, and from what I've seen, they're almost always both in use. Operations on this one aren't great though. It definitely seems like they could have sped up the ops on this attraction. Now, moving into the experience, the ride has over-the-shoulder restraints, the classic B&M ones, not vest restraints, just the regular good old over-the-shoulder restraints. This could cause headbanging, but the ride is very smooth, so there really isn't much of that headbanging throughout the ride. Your experience starts when you ascend the chain lift. You rise 146 feet into the air before getting the layout started with the first drop. From a forces standpoint, this drop doesn't do too much. There really isn't any force at all actually, because the angle of descent is not that steep. They couldn't make this angle of descent too steep though, because they needed to get over the track of Jaguar, which was already there. I'm assuming at the bottom of the drop, you reach the ride's top speed. You're traveling at 55 miles an hour at the bottom of the drop. Now, the first real element you come to after the drop is the vertical loop. This loop isn't anything too crazy, but it is a nice way to get the inversions going. At the bottom of the vertical loop, you'll get a nice little touch of positive G's before entering your second element, this weird overbank turn thing. I'm really not sure what to call this element, but it's a fun element nonetheless, and it's unique for a ride like this. At the base of this element, you get another nice dose of positive G's before entering the Cobra Roll. Cobra Rolls are notorious for giving headbanging, and I would say this is the only moment on Silver Bullet where you might bang your head. It's not a guarantee, but it's definitely a possibility. Now, I will say, this inversion really does look nice against the front entrance. I think seeing that track and seeing the train cycling really does get you excited for your day at Knott's Berry Farm. So overall, while I love the appearance of the Cobra Roll, I don't find it that great when you're on the attraction. However, I do really like the next element. I always love a good B&M invert 0G roll, and Silver Bullets does not disappoint. I really like this element. I would describe it as floaty. I have not experienced very many 0G rolls, but I have enjoyed them when they're on B&M inverts. Now, after this, you take a turn to the left, which leads into the first of 2 corkscrews. These corkscrews have some real snap to them. And it's a nice contrast after mostly floaty elements to start the ride. The first corkscrew goes to the left, and the second one, after dipping down above the water, goes to the right. You then enter the most intense part of the ride, this upwards helix. If you like positive G's, then this will be your favorite moment, as you really do feel them over the course of this double helix. While this did not happen to me personally, I have heard accounts of people graying out on this element, because you definitely feel the force as you twist up into the brake run. This ends what I think is a pretty fun finale for Silver Bullet with those 2 corkscrews and the aforementioned intense upward helix. It also ends the 3,125 foot long coaster. So, what would I rate Silver Bullet? This is just a fun ride. It has inversions, it's smooth, I like the setting. Really, there isn't too much I don't like about Silver Bullet. I'm going to give this B&M invert an 8 out of 10. I genuinely enjoy Silver Bullet, and I think it's a solid ride. In fact, and this is probably a controversial opinion, I actually prefer Silver Bullet to Flight Deck at California's Great America. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love a ride on Flight Deck, and I think that's a pretty strong ride, but Silver Bullet's length is what pushes it over the edge for me. While Flight Deck feels short, Silver Bullet feels like a complete experience. And I think when you're at Knott's, you should definitely give this coaster a whirl.